Okay, guys, I'm just now being able to video because the heat people have been in here. So, sorry, don't panic, because I know you probably are. All right, so we, some of you, I think third and fourth block, we touched the first box, but I know first block didn't, so I'm just going to start over. So, on the first one, first box, you should have number 2, 3, 5, 6, 10, and 11 marked out. So, I'll go over 1, 4, 7, 8, 9, and 12 with you. All right, so on the first one, it is the square root of 22m to the 7th times the square root of 8m squared. When we multiply those, we get 176. And remember, when you multiply, you add your exponents. So we have m to the 9th, okay? Now, we want to split this up. So over here on the side, we did this one in class yesterday. We did 176 is 2 and 88. 88 is 8 and 11. And 8 is 4 and 2, and 4 is 2 and 2. So what I've done is I've broke 76 down. Next, we circle our pairs, and we box what is left over, okay? So I'm going to write these out. The first section was 88 times 2 is 176. The next one was 2 times 8 times 11 is 176. 2 times 4 times 2 times 11 is 176. And then all of our 2's at the bottom. And I got all of this from my factor tree right here. Okay, so if you notice, 11 is in all of them, okay? Then we have 2 times 8. Well, you know that's 16. 2 times 4 times 2 is 16. And 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is also 16. So the best way to break down 176 is 16 times 11. So over here on the left side, we're going to go back. And we're going to say the square root of 16 and the square root of 11. However, we have to break down that m to the 9th. So when you're doing problems like this, you want to be able to get something you can simplify. Okay? So let's try m to the 8th and an m. 8 plus 1, because remember this is a 1 right here. Is 9, so we simplified. When I keep working, I have the square root of 16 and the square root of m to the 8th times the square root of 11m. We know we cannot simplify the right side, but we can simplify the left side. The square root of 16 is 4. Now, remember this. This conversion, this will really help you in this section. So when I change this, this is m to the 8 over 2, which you know is just 4, times the square root of 11m. So once you simplify all that, you get 4m to the 4th times the square root of 11m. So that one's probably the hardest one on here. And I'm not for sure that you'll even see a question like that, but just in case, you need to at least be able to recognize how to simplify a big square root. All right, let's go on to number 4. Number 4 is fairly easy. So we have 3 square root of 27 minus the square root of 75 plus 4 square root of 45. Okay, now we want to break this down. We know this can be, bring down our 3, the square root of 9, and the square root of 3, because 9 times 3 is 27. If we break down 75, 25 and 3, plus, bring down my 4, square root of 9, and the square root of 5. Okay? So now when we simplify, 3 times 3 times the square root of 3 minus 5 square root of 3 plus 4 times 3 square root of 5. We simplify again. 9 square root of 3 minus 5 square root of 3 plus 12 square root of 5. Simplify one last time. We combine like terms and we have 4 square root of 3 plus 12 square root of 5. So this bottom line is my simplified answer. All right, let's go to number 7. All we're doing here is distributing. So we have 2 square root of 6 times the square root of 2 plus 4, and that 4 is on the outside. So remember, this first term goes to both the square root of 2 and 4. So we have 2 square root of 6 times square root of 2 plus 2 square root of 6 times 4. When we simplify, 2 square root of 12 plus 8 square root of 6. Remember, you can only combine square roots with square roots and whole numbers with whole numbers. We can simplify this square root of 12, to be the square root of 4 and the square root of 3, because 4 times 3 is 12. And then we bring everything else down. Simplify. And all of that equals 4 square root of 3 plus 8 square root of 6. Okay? So both of these answers right here are the same. The one in the bottom is just the simplified version. All right, number 8. It's best to use the box method on this, so you write it out correctly. So we have 8 minus 2 square root of 3 times 1 plus 4 square root of 3. So we got our box. In the top, we have 8 minus 2 square root of 3 and 1 plus 4 square root of 3. Remember, when you do the box, you multiply on the outside, combine on the inside. So we have an 8 here, a negative 2 square root of 3 here, 32 square root of 3 here, and a negative 8 square root of 9. Because I multiply my 2 square roots. All right, when we simplify, we have 8 minus 2 square root of 3 plus 32 square root of 3 minus 8 square root of 9. We simplify. We can combine these two middle terms because they both include the square root of 3. We can combine, we get plus 30 square root of 3 minus 8. And we know that the square root of 9 is 3. So we keep simplifying. And we end up with negative 16 plus 30 square root of 3. Okay. Let's see. Number 9. It looks like this on your paper. Well, you know that that exponent of 2 just means that we do it 2 times. So these two equations are the same. Once again, it's best to use the box method here. We multiply, we get the square root of 4, square root of 10, square root of 10, square root of 25. Let's write it all out before we simplify. You know the square root of 4 is 2. You have 2 square roots of 10s. And you know that the square root of 25 is 5. We combine these two and we get 7 plus 2. Whoops, can't see that. 7 plus 2 square root of 10. Now we can't combine 7 and 2 because that 2 has that 10 attached. So leave it like that. All right, number 12 is a little bit different and you probably haven't seen it yet. It's multiply by the conjugate. All the conjugate is the opposite. You just change the sign on your square root, okay? So, first we have 3 minus the square root of 5 over 4 minus the square root of 5. If I multiply by the conjugate, okay, I'm using my denominator. The conjugate of the denominator would be 4 plus the square root of 5. And we do that on the top and the bottom. Okay? Now, to simplify this, we want to multiply straight across. So we just squish these two things. All right, you do a box for the top, box for the bottom, and then you simplify. I'm not going to work this one out, but I will tell you, once you simplify it all out, your answer, so you'll want to check yourself, you'll want to work it out and see. Your answer should be 7 minus the square root of 5 over 11. All right, that's the first little box. So let's look at the rational expressions, numbers 13 through 18. On the first one, it's very easy. So number 13, we've got 63 to the 1/2 power. Okay, well, keep in mind, this conversion. Okay, anything to the 1/2 power is the same thing as me taking the square root. Okay, but we just don't write that little 2 right there. Okay, we know if we do the square root of 63, we do not get a whole number. So we want to simplify. You know that the square root of 9 and the square root of 7 is the same thing as the square root of 63. This equals 3. We cannot simplify, so we have the square root of 7. So my answer ends up being 3 square root of 7. All right. Number 14. 54k to the 5th, all to the 1/3 power. we break that down to look like this right here. All right, now 54 is the same thing as 27 and 2. Okay, that's the biggest thing those two numbers can go into. So, think of it this way. We have to split up. This should be a 5. We have to split this up, okay? You can take the cube root of 27 and get a whole number, correct? All right, so if we say the cube root of 27k cubed and the cube root of 2k squared, are these two things the same? Yes, because I have 27 times 2 is 54. A k to the third and a k to the second is the same thing as a k to the fifth. Now we simplify. The cube root of 27 is 3. The cube root of k to the third is just a k. And we know we can't simplify the second part, so we just bring it straight down. That one's a little tricky. All right, next. Number 15. We have C to the 13 over 4th power and D to the 7 over 4th power. So let's break them up where we can simplify. C to the 12 over 4 and a C 1 over 4 is the same thing as C to the 13 over 4 because 12 plus 1 is 13. D to the 4 over 4 and D to the 3 over 4 is the same as D to the 7 over 4. Simplify. These two are the same. Either way you write it will be correct. I just changed it from these two forms. Okay? All right. Number 16. Is the square root of x to the 12th and y to the 5th. Well, if we change that, we have x to the 12 over 2 and y to the 5 over 2. Simplifies x to the 6, y to the 5 over 2, and we are done. That one's really easy. Number 17. Another easy one. The 4th root of 16a squared and b to the 9th. Well, it's 3 different things. This one this one, and this one. When we simplify, we get 2a to the 2 over 4 and b to the 9 over 4. But you can simplify the middle one. So we have 2a to the 1/2 and b to the 9 over 4. Okay? All right, number 18 is very simple as well. It's the cube root of uw to the 8th power. So all we did is apply that to both u and w, so they will both include a power of 8/3. Okay? All right, the next ones are complex numbers. So, let's see. 19 through 30. I'm not going to do all these because you know how to do them, I hope. But I am going to touch base on some of them. So, let me see if I can zoom in. Okay, right here, you know that you cannot take the square root of a negative number. So what you can do is take the square root of the positive number and put that little cute little eye on the outside. So let me go here. What would 19 be? Square root of positive 144 is 12. So the square root of negative 144 would be 12i. Okay? Look at this recall up here at the top. I is just I. I squared is negative 1. I cubed is negative I. And I4 is positive 1. Remember, that pattern repeats every 4 times. Let's see. Here we have to simplify 192 because it's not a perfect square root. So we simplify it to be the square root of negative 64 and the square root of 3. So I'm going to let you finish that one. Here you combine these two square roots. Simplify. Remember, on these, we take 57 and we divide it by 4. Not in a calculator, on paper. 4 goes into 5 one time. 4 goes into 17 4 times. So I have a remainder of 1. Now remember, your answer here is I to your remainder. Well, I to the 1 is just I. 23, you want to first multiply 2 and 8 and get 16. And then you have I to the 34th. Because remember, when you multiply, you're adding your exponents. So now you want to split these up. You want to take 34 and you want to divide it by 4 and find out what your solution is. And then multiply that with your 16. Number 24. We have I to the 5th and the square root of 6. And all that is squared. So we can just say, use the power rule and say I to the 10th and the square root of 36 times what we have on the right side. And then you just simplify and you combine. Once you get I to the 13th, hope you cannot see that. Let me back up. All right, you got I to the 13th right here. All right, once you do that, then you can just go back and simplify. And I'll write it up here at the top. This is two things, just like we did on 23. This goes in there 3 times, so you have a 1 left over. So you just say 24 times I to the 1 power, which would just be 24i. Okay. Let's see. 25, 26. All you're doing is combining like terms. So I'll put combine like terms. Here is the box method. $28, you do 2 minus 5i 2 times. So you can use the box method for it. Here, we will talk about 29 and 30 in class Wednesday. All right, to complete 34 through 36, I want you to go to this URL, and it's at the top right here, and it's Oops. Let me start over. It's emathematics.net/classify numbers.php. Okay, so first, we're going to have to solve these. Then, I want you to use this website to classify what types of numbers there are. Now, remember what I told you back in topic 6. All numbers are complex numbers. Every number is a complex number, okay? So, let's go back. Here, and we'll simplify them. So on this one, you are going to have to first divide 62 by 4. Okay? That goes in there 1 time. And then 5. So I have a remainder of 2. So I'm looking for I to the remainder of 2, I squared. Well, you know I squared is -1. So here you're telling me what type of number -1 is. Okay? On this one, we just combine like terms. So we have 9 minus 9. Those cancel. We have -7 minus a -4, which will be a -3i. So you're telling me what type of number -3i is. Here we have 5i minus 5i, which just equals 0. So you're telling me what type of number 0 is. All right, next, we're looking right here, and we have 9 minus 2i squared, which will be a (4i squared), but you know that I squared is a -1. So we have 9 minus 4 times 1, so 9 plus 4, which is 5. Next is the square root of 40. And last is the square root of 25 over 4. The square root of 25 is 5, and the square root of 4 is 2. So you were telling me what each of the box numbers, what type of numbers they are. All right. Make sure you have these written down. I paused the video and I don't really know where I stopped. All right, so on this first one, we're looking at a difference of squares. So, is there a number that 50 and 18 go into? Or a number that goes into both 50 and 18? Let's try 2. It's probably our best option. So we've got 25m squared minus 9n squared. So all I did was simplify. Okay, now we are in the same format as the difference of squares. So to simplify, let's take the square root of 25 and 9. Okay, so we're going to bring our 2 down. So we have 2, and it says by the formula right here to say a minus b. Well, if we take the square root of 25m, we get 5m minus 3n. Now, the second part of the equation says to just add it. So 5m plus 3n. When you multiply all that back out, you should get where you started. Okay? All right, 38, let's mark out. And let's move to 39 and 40. You should know how to do these. We've done them before. So remember, the first one is a difference of cubes, and 40 is a sum of cubes. We take the cube root of both terms. This equals x. This equals 3. This is a. This is b. We plug it into difference of cubes. For 40, we take the cube root of k cubed, and the cube root of 216. We get k and 6. K is A, 6 is B. We plug that into the sum of cubes, okay? $41. A number that goes into both is 5, and they both have at least 2 y's. So let's factor out a 5y squared. So we're going to multiply 5y squared by 8y cubed, and of course a 1. Now, this right here is a sum of cubes problem. So, just like we did on 39 and 40, we are going to take the cube root of 8y cubed, and we're going to be left with 2y. And the cube root of 1 is just 1. So, to simplify, we keep our 5y squared, and we say 2y plus 1 times 4y squared minus 2y plus 1. So all I did was use this information right here and plug it into the sum of cubes. All right, I want you to mark out. Oh, not yet. Let's do 42. So we have a 3a squared, a 3a to the 4th times b minus 192ab. Let's factor out a 3. They both include a 3. They both include at least one a, and they both include at least one b. All right, I already have one a, so I want to multiply by a cubed minus 64, because 64 times 3 is 192. Now, just like I did on 41, I'm going to take this right here, and I'm going to use the difference of cubes to make a new formula. All right, here I want you to go ahead and mark out number 44 and 45. All right, so on 43, they all have at least a k, so we're going to factor out a k. K squared minus 17k plus 60. Then we take what's in the parentheses and we use the big X. Negative 17 is going in the bottom. 60 is going on top. So I have a negative 12 and a negative 5. So I've got k minus 12 and k minus 5 as my answer. All right. On 46, because we skipped 44 and 45. On 46, let's go ahead and divide these in two. Okay. The first set includes at least both of those numbers can go, 4 can go into both of those numbers, and they at least include 2 c's. So we have 4c squared times 2c minus 5. And if you'll notice, over here on the right, when I factor out a 1, our two sets of parentheses are the same. So, remember, we just have to write that common factor once. So we have 4c squared minus 1 and 2c plus 5. Okay, this comes from topic 9. If you want to look back at your topic 9 notes, it should really help you. But first, I'll work through some of them. Go ahead and mark out, let's see, number 48 as well. We don't need to do that one. Alright, so on this first one, they're both quadratic, so we have to use the big X on both of them. So we have a 1 in the bottom for the top and a negative 20. That will be add to get 1, multiply to get negative 20, so 5 and 4. Using the denominator, we have a negative 9 and a 20. And that will be the opposite, so a negative 5 and a negative 4. So we have x plus 5, x minus 4 over x minus 5 and x minus 4. Remember, you cancel out your two common things. So we're canceling out x minus 4, and we are just left with x plus 5 on the top and x plus 5 on the bottom. Okay? That one's really easy. Skip 48, jump to 49. We're multiplying. So, these are all quadratic. So let me go to another page so I can work this one out. So the first one is 16 minus 9x squared over 6x squared minus 2x minus 20 times 6x squared 9x over 6. Alright, so we're going to have to use the big X 4 different times here, okay? On the first one, the numerator on the left side, it's in a different order, so you have to be very careful. Let's see, so if we rewrite it, let's write it down here in the bottom corner. Negative 9x squared plus 0x plus 16. Okay, so remember 0 is going in the bottom. And up top is going to be negative 144. 16 times negative 9. Think about this. What are your doubles? The only thing that multiplies to get negative 144 would be negative 12 and 12. When you add those, you get 0. Okay? Now, that's not the only thing you have to do. Since your A term is something other than 1, we have to divide both sides by negative 9. Okay? This becomes A negative 4 over 3. And this becomes a negative 4 over 3. Actually, the one on the left becomes positive because two negatives make a positive. And the other one becomes negative. So, first, on the top, remember, bottom number goes with x. 3x plus 4. And negative 3x plus 4. Alright, now we do the bottom. So I'm going to erase this big X. We have negative 2 in the bottom. And negative 20 up top. So just think about it. Negative 12 and 10 give me both of those numbers when we add and when we multiply. but we have to divide by 6. So this one becomes a -2, and this one becomes 5/3. So we have x minus 2 and 3x plus 5. We do the big X again, -9 in the bottom, -36 up top. So we have 12 and 3. The 12 has to be negative. We divide both sides by 6. 12 divided by 6 is a -2, and this will be a half. So we have x minus 2 and 2x plus 1 in the bottom. We have 14. A times c is -72. So this one might be a little bit trickier. Let's see. -72 divided by 4 is 18. So what if I do 4 and 18? -4 plus 18 would be a +14. If you multiply, it's -72. Divide both sides by 3. And we get a 6 here. So this is 3x minus 4 and x plus 6. So here we can only cancel out let's see. Can only cancel out one thing, which would be x minus 2. So on the top, we would have a (3x plus 4), a -3x plus 4, and a 2x plus 1, all over 3x plus 5, 3x minus 4, and x plus 6. So that one's pretty complicated. Or not complicated, but just a lot of work. Alright, let's see. Number 50, you do the exact same thing as multiplication after you factor, except you must keep the first, change the sign, and flip your second fraction. That's for dividing only. Keep, change, and flip. Okay? Keep, change, flip. So use the big X to factor all 4 equations. Write out your new factors. Keep the first one. Change your sign. Flip the second one. And cross out. On the last two, where you're adding and subtracting. Remember, when you add and subtract fractions, you have to have a common denominator. You have to have it. Okay? So, let's see. First, if we factor out this bottom right here, we have 0 in the bottom and negative 16 up top. Well, you know that's got to be a negative 4 and a 4. So this simplifies to x plus 4 and x minus 4. Okay, so all you have to do on this problem is multiply this right here on the top, or on the top and bottom, by the missing term, which is x minus 4. Okay? So, we have 2x plus 80 plus 9 times x minus 4 all over my denominator, which is x minus 4 and x plus 4. We simplify, and we get 2x plus 80 plus 9x minus 36 over x plus 4, x minus 4. And remember, it doesn't matter the way you write your denominator. Then we are left with 11x plus 44 over x plus 4, x minus 4. However, we can simplify the top to be 11x plus 4 and now we have a common factor. Cross, cross. I'm left with 11 over x minus 4. So all I did was keep simplifying. Either one is correct, though. All right, on 52, you'll notice that the denominators are not the same. So what you have to do is multiply each side by the missing term. So this side is going to be multiplied by x plus 7 on the top and the bottom. And this side is going to be multiplied by x plus 2 on the top and the bottom. But remember, when you are doing this, you only simplify the numerator. My denominator is always going to be x minus 2 and x plus 7. Simplify the top, combine like terms, cross out, and that should be it. Okay, so I didn't work through all 52 questions because it would take forever and a day. But I've done most of them, so you should be able to figure out the rest. I'm not going to do the quizzes because I want you to do those on your own. However, I am going to give you the answers so you can check yourself. But if you come to school and you just have the answer circle, you can best bet I'm not going to give them to you because I know you just wrote them down. So you better be showing some work, or you're not going to get a good grade. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So it is D, A, D, C, B, C, B, B, A, D, C, C, A, and then we marked out 15. Okay, so this is the first topic video. I'll work on the second one and get it uploaded as soon as I can.